Dumelang everyone. My name is Intabisa Ngwejana and I'm a spiritual medium. Thank you for joining me. Um, Today I'm not doing a teaching. I'm actually doing a sharing, right? Because in one of my previous videos, I don't know why was I so excitable. I promised that I'm going to share a story about how I became a medium, and I thought I could just, let it slide. Nobody would remember. And um, on Christmas Day, actually, people were like, "Oh, Merry Christmas, Coco. We love you. All the blessings to you and your family." And I was like, "Oh, my people love me. Oh, I love you too." And the next thing they're like, "So when are you sharing about how you became a medium? How?" That's as Lamorena. Your people don't have peace. Also, like you just can't let me be. So I realize a promise is a promise. I might as well just deliver on the promise that I made, because it has been a constant now. Um, Reminder and a request. So I must just get it over and done with and let it go and give it to you. It is not easy talking about yourself. You know that, right? It's never easy because in the process of talking about yourself, you have to think about the things that you have not healed. You have to be bare, and share some of the joys that you think, oh, this thing is very personal and it would look like I'm breaking, and certain things are that gruesome and it would look like I'm complaining. So what do I then talk about? But it is really the nature of having this kind of a platform to, when I thought about it, and it took me a very long time. In one of my videos I did say that, in fact, in many of my videos I did say that it took me a very long time to just come to a YouTube channel, because I'm then sharing my own experiences. I'm sharing the journey according to me, because when I got into it, I found that I really needed to navigate this very hectic streets on my own. And sometimes you share certain thing and other healers go like, "Oh, really? Ntavi, kannete." But it's my story, and you are just going to own what you own, because those journeys are very different, and that's the beauty of it. That's the that's the that's the thing I love about ancestors. When I hear about other people's stories and how they came to the gift, you realize there's so much diversity. And that is why at some point I really get quite not pleased with people who say, "I don't do these things. I'm not accustomed to these things." And when you look at the spectrum, the variation of these things, you realize that Badimo are creative, ancestors are diligent, ancestors are wise, ancestors they have a navigation system that is very intricate. They are connected to the universe and they use whatever they can in order for them to creatively deliver messages. So I really love them. Anyway, I don't want this video to be too long, right? Touch wood. I hope it's not gonna be too long, because I'm talking about myself. And so I'm a trained journalist, and you get to be taught how not to talk about yourself. You are never part of the story. The person that's telling you the story is the storyteller, and when you are just projecting the story, looking through their eyes. So you then can't make yourself part of it. But journalism has changed. Journalists are celebrities. This is not about journalism. I'm just making a reflection. Now, I'm going to briefly discuss certain things. I think some of the stories or some of the lines, you would have heard them in my other previous videos of how I just share tidbits of experiences and things that I came across. But how it really started. Hmm. So there were many things that were signs, and signs that I chose to ignore, my parents chose to ignore, and religion that I was in also encouraged that you could pray these things away, these things away, these things. It's a thing, guys. Have you ever heard somebody? Tabi, I need to consult, but I don't do these things. So now I'm supposed to dish out these things that you don't do. It hurts, guys. Talk to us nicely. I'm kidding. We are here to teach you about these things. We will get you in this world of these things because these things are really our things. At the end of the day, they are really our things. And I found out there in the most harshest of ways because of my just general stand personality. I am a good planner. I plan my life this way and it has to go this way, and if it doesn't, then we do a tweaking and replanning and we direct it this way. And when I got into this world of ancestors, I found out I have no control, none whatsoever. And that was the biggest frustration of my mind in this gift, or in me navigating this journey, because one of the first things I now tell people that you do is that you relent control, you relent your own brilliance, you relent everything else. You just, oh, you just sit in pure total I surrender. Take it, take me, because it gets to that point. So when I started going to a healer, on my own, as me, a young grown up person trying to find out what are the nitty-gritties of my life, I did not go there looking to be found or to be picked up as one of the healer people. No, I went there because I was having problems having a child, right? And I was thinking, okay, time is against me. And it was really coming to a point where it was such a sore point. It was a thing that I used to sit and cry about on many nights and just think, God, you can't do this thing to me. I have such a love for children. I love every child that I come into contact with as if like they were my own. And I thought when I had children of my own, or when I have a child of my own, this thing would subside. But it is even much more intense. It's even much more intense. So it's a gift of mine. It's a thing that I do with children. And so I realized that I had been conceiving, but I could not carry a child to full term all the time. And I it came to a point where it was a serious point of frustration in my life. And I one day went to a healer. And I went to a healer. I asked my friend to connect me with other healers. She had been a healer for the for for a couple of months. Then she went to Twaso, and she was also not wanting to go to Twaso like many people. It's a thing we deny and they force it on us and they karma us, and you realize you just can't deny it anymore. So she was a best friend and she knew all my stories, and I said I needed somebody that is neutral. Who can you take me to? And she chose somebody that she could that she referred, and I went. When I went to that appointment, it had been 4 days, 4 long days that I'd been sitting in my bed and I could not move, I could not walk, I could not do anything, right? And I just had to crawl to go find food in the other room, and I stayed alone because of work. I lived, in Joburg, and I was alone for many years. So she gave me the number. I made the appointment, and as I made the appointment, the lady said to me, you are such an urgent case. You really need to be here this afternoon." Why? And previously, prior, the prior months to that, I had been having mobility issues. I just could not walk when I had to go to work. My upper body was fine. I could sit in my bed and type and give instructions to people what they needed to do for the day, but I just could not start the car and go to work. Couldn't move. And I'd been hospitalized a couple of times. I'd been diagnosed with a couple of illnesses, arthritis, this kind, and the other, and lupus, and I was losing my hair. I still sometimes cry about my hair. Um, Before I had real hair. So I did not realize that I was going through a certain transition, you know. I was being Things were being shed off me. They were being shed off me. And I just thought that I was losing myself. So I go to this healer and I park the car on her driveway. And as I so I was leaving Johannesburg, going to Pretoria North. And in traffic and everything, I still could drive. By the time that I had to leave the house and go see this healer, I could walk. Everything was fine. After 4 days of me sitting in bed, being hungry, not being able to do most things, I could walk. I even wear a wet shoe and I drove, because I need to be a girl. I got this, and I'm busy driving along. And I got there. When I got there, I don't know what happened. The last memory I had was me just switching off the car and getting out of the car. And I lost that. I had a time lap of what had happened. So all to find out that I got into a trance, and I'm told that a lady started crying, and as I started rolling from so I'm a chubby person. I'm really not thin. You can imagine me rolling in a skirt, like going boo, 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 ne? Don't imagine that. Don't imagine that. So I I got to be in a trance, and apparently this lady started screaming out of me, and she said, I want my children to be together. I want my children to be together. My children have completely forgotten about me, and have completely forgotten about our ways. Okay. So the next thing, I'm in a consulting room and I am voicing out my issues, and I'm like, no, I'm here because I'm financially okay and I need a baby and all of this thing. And this lady says to me, no, Ntabi, this is not what this is about. It's about you taking over a gift. People from your father's side are saying you are too far. Here's a gift for you that you need to take. I'm like, what gift? I knew that my grandfather was a healer, right? Tebing, that's his name. I knew that he was a healer, and I knew that he really, really loved me. And I just thought, because everybody did love me, why would he not love me? I'm, part of his own people, so he's just supposed to love me. Why won't he? And Bruru had other things planned. And apparently, this had been a conversation in my family, between his family and my family, that I should actually be married into the family when my father didn't want to acknowledge the pregnancy, right? And so my grandfather felt quite fond of me and said, no, this child, we rather even marry her into the family. And my mom said, I'm not going to lose my child and all of this thing. Now, this Tatemholo of mine, this grandfather of mine, was now calling me from the grave, and he wanted to give me a gift. And I was so shocked because I was a serious Muborofeta wa Mozalwane, very staunch, very, very praise the Lord, all my soul, and all that is within me. I was that in some of the churches that I went to. I was even a worshiper. Yay, you staunch, you can't. And even in the first consultation, the ancestors came out and said, we are trying to get to her, but she keeps on saying we are demons. Embarrassed. I was very embarrassed. Because I was like, guilty as just that's me. Um, and what had happened is that so they gave me an assignment from that one consultation. I got an assignment to go for cleansing, uh, for the general aura cleansing, and the miscarriage that I had in previous years, and the buloi that had been staggered on me. Good people had to fufura like buloi one, buloi two, buloi three, because it's such a common thing with people who are gifted. You get to experience many other things that are anti the gift, that are going to try to close you off from you ever even seeing the light about your gift until you come to a point where you like, I cut. Life needs to happen in a different way. And so I, at the time, was given an assignment to go to the river to do the cleansing, to do a detachment for the children that I had previously lost, and to go to a mountain, a specific mountain in Free State. So I was like, why would I be going to a mountain? I don't even know these things. Why these things? Why? Why me? I mean, I'm so young. Why these people didn't even raise me? I had so many things that today when I look at them and when I hear other people, I try to explain how irrelevant they are. When you're chosen, and the sooner you get into it, the better. The sooner you just pull yourself towards yourself and get into it, the better, because we came in kicking and screaming and they really dragged me into it, dragged me by my feet, by my hair, what was left of my hair, and everything else. So there is a thing about this particular mountain that they sent me to, because I normally say that I trusted my prayers. I knew I was a prayer person. You say I must pray for you on something, we are there. It's happening. I trusted my prayers. But there was one specific prayer that I normally tell people about, that I would pray and I would get into some sort of a trance, and I would see myself following some old man around a mountain, and I would be this little, he would be this big, and I would be following him, and I would still be praying. And it's almost like, he's chanting whatever I'm praying and going through with me around this mountain, right? And I knew that that was my highest level of prayer. If I prayed a prayer and it got me to that channel, I knew, Bona, we are good. Tomorrow we are testifying. And I trusted that prayer because remember, I'm in a charismatic church. I am Baba Keke Mutwa prayer all the way. And I went to this mountain 2 weeks later. Mysteriously, there was a connection via my first friend who said, Tabi, according to your dialogue, your prescription, they are saying you should go to a certain mountain. Go, let's this. So there's a trip. Can I connect you to the trip and people who are going? I was like, yeah, please, yes, please. And we went. And when I went to that mountain, I was so sick. I was extremely sick. All the sicknesses that I ever had as a child, as a young adult, every other thing. I think Lancet knows my name. If you just put 8, they know that I put NN and some 8. They like, Ntabi. Because they tested me for many, many things over the years and they could not find anything apart from now the lupus arthritis and the rheumatoid arthritis and the osteoarthritis and all those kind of things, because my body was just refusing to acknowledge me as the inhabitor of it. Now, I went to this mountain and I just couldn't climb the mountain. I was extremely sick, but I had to climb it. But the funny thing is that as I was going on top of a stone and getting to the other one, I could hear people cheering at me on the other side, like, yeah, like that stadium clamor where you have Lionel Messi after scoring a goal and you just I could hear that kind of an effect on top of the mountain. And so now there was a curiosity. Hey, madam, if you are going mad, you must go see the madness. Climb, climb, climb. And I hate climbing, just hate climbing stuff. I was afraid of water then, and so there's the river on the other side that you have to jump the river, go up the mountain. By the time I reached the mountain, I was almost DEAD. I was almost dead. Didn't want anything, but you get then you need to do the processes of being where you are. First night, I have a dream. I didn't even have a dream. First night, I'm here live sitting watching this person, and he had Ishoba, Lishoba. He had Lishoba come around, let's all, and he was dressed like a union member, your typical skipa se se red and borukhu ba Brentwood, Brentwood. Used to call it Brentwood. And he looked at me and he started talking to me. And he said, Karebe. I looked up and I was listening to this person, and he told me a long story about who he is, where his children are, who were the children and where they died, and where he died. He actually died on that side of the mountain. And as I was looking at him, and he was saying to me, "Do you know me?" And I'm like, "I don't know you." And he said, "Okay." And then he started to show me the prayer. This prayer, I've been doing this prayer since I was almost age 15. And when I discovered the gift, I was age 30. So for the 15 years, I knew that this prayer was my spillion. It was my thing, my magic thing. And he just transformed into that old man. And I realized I've been here at this mountain many times before. And so we went on and we did the things, the rituals there. It was a very emotionally draining, straining, process. And as I still ascended the mountain, I still could not walk. It was just a dramatic event in Jim. Now that mountain became my magic place, right? And that was the second thing that happened. The first thing that happened was the actual, no, no, after the mountain, no, it was the cleansing, then the mountain. The first thing that had happened when I was going to a cleansing, I I was going with the lady who helped me to navigate this very strange world. Then it was a very strange world, and we came across a stone, and on the stone we had I saw shells. We saw shells, like a mermaid shells, and she said, "Intabi, they're speaking, but I can't hear them. Can you hear them? I think they're speaking to you." I'm like, who is they? No, listen intently. And I could hear they said, "Take 7 of these shells and let the lady take 4 of the shells." So I took 7, she took 4, and I said, "They're saying we must put them in water when we get home." And I put mine in water. I don't know what she did with hers. Put mine in water. And the next day, 4 o'clock in the morning, wake up, go bath. Then I'm in the shower. Okay, use the shells. I'm like, use the shells to bath. Water from the shells. And I did. And that's exactly how I started seeing. So I knew I could evoke the spirit of prophecy through prayer, through speaking in tongues, and through everything else. But the phenomenon of just looking at a person or hearing a person's voice and being transported into their world, into their spiritual world, into the hidden world, into their family world, it just happened by me over time. Ke tlhapa ka di-shells tseo, and ke rapela ka mokgwa that I was taught, with a white duke, which is why I always say it's a broadband, with a white duke, with a Bible and water, because that's how I was trained. Now, going forward, it came to a point where I would find other healers. Ancestors' dreams would come, go to healer one. Would go to healer one, they would teach me certain things. And when they had to take me through the entire journey, me and healer one don't agree. Me and healer one, healer one is not available. I'm having not so good dreams about healer one. Go to healer two. Same things. We start very well. And then we get to a point where we just cannot get to the pinnacle of what was happening, or what should have been happening with me. So I then struggled to find somebody who was going to twasisa me, initiate me, and teach me this whole thing. And at some point I had some serious frustrations with my ancestors. Now it was the year 3, and I was still doing consultations. I was working for free, and at that time I was also, enticed by this thing. Okay, so you can actually see through a person, boo, through a person, see their mother at home, see their sister. Oh, okay. But it took a long time for me to be confident with what I'm doing. I was not charging people because I was like, hey, time, What if they pay and then you are not seeing things correctly? What if you are lying? What if you wake up tomorrow and this thing is not there? And they want their money and you are not working, because that's what ancestors came and did. They gave me a beautiful, beautiful job after the mountain experience, and I could do everything that I wanted to do. For the longest of time that I had been employed, I could not do most things. And when I undertook the gift, I did a tit for tat. I said, give me this and I'll do that. Yeah, because I was a spoiled person. I was a spoiled person. I knew I could pray for everything in my life and everything would turn out well. So there was never a point where I ever thought I could be stuck. And the spirit goes like, ooh, we are taking over. We are doing everything now. And so the spirit took over. My contract ended at work, and things just started to not go right. And I thought, I mean, I'm Tabisa Mwechana. I'm employed and employable. What do you mean? I would go for interviews and people said, mm-mm, you were too highly paid at your previous job. Why is that a problem? I want a job. No. You will move to the next company. Yeah, but allow me. No. Then I would apply, regret. Then I would go for interviews and they would ask for my strategy and I would just rattle down the strategy. And they were like, thank you, ma'am. 2 months down the line, I see my whole strategy being played on TV. I'm like, oh, and they didn't hire me. But ancestors refused. They said, what is it that you asked, that you still think you needed to do in corporate? You have a new thing that you have to do here. People are waiting for you. I'm like, why are people waiting for me? Let them wait for other people. And you didn't even raise me, Lena Batwabu Papa. Why are people waiting for me? Who are these people? And when you start this journey, I must say, not that it gets a little bit, I mean, you are always performing the KPAs, or at least I still am that kind of pedantic person about what I do. So there are KPAs even in spirituality. And and they would start to, this is what's happening with this person, go do that, and pam, when like, when bang ma'am, we have an issue today, tomorrow it's gone. And my friend and I used to joke about this thing of how we have a 3-day antibiotic kind of a thing. 3-day antibiotic. And because spirit was coming in seriously, it was working over time, and things were really happening for other people. And for the first time, I could see who the people were, right? I could, for the first time, see that people really needed my gift. I'm just gonna stop here because people are complaining that my videos are too long. Guys, I talk a lot, sorry. So I'm just gonna stop here and do a part 2 of it, right? Let's meet on the other side.